Welcome to Think About It, where we have two primary goals. One is to get you to think about it, and two is to just make more sense than most anybody on CNN. While all of Washington has been aglow with the exciting reunion and reassembling of the Clinton administration, part duh, keyed, of course, by their new poster child, the Chicago Messiah. By the way, where is he? Is he still on one of those Alaskan cruises Reverend Wright is hosting? While all that's going on, the rest of us in real America have been dealing with some fairly sizable issues, most notably the total and utter collapse of the American industrial machine keyed by the big three automakers. Like many of you, I sat stunned at how horrible a performance the CEOs of the big three gave during their vaudeville shows in front of the Senate and the House committees. I can't remember a time when guys in suits and ties have presented themselves so poorly, unless it was Barney Frank on with Bill O'Reilly. And at least Frank had enough adrenaline to foam at the mouth occasionally. The big three automakers employ, at the cost of millions of dollars per year, consulting firms that do only one thing: help them shape their messages to the rest of the world. That's all they do. Here's what you say, here's how you say it, here's what the commercials will look like. And yet, they so miserably failed the CEOs that it was almost like watching elementary school kids get called into the principal's office for something they did wrong on the playground. It was painful to watch. Well, it didn't have to be that way. Here, after all, they're sitting in front of a panel of people, elected weasels and leeches, who have never done anything in their lives, never started a business, never grown a business, and in most cases have never worked in any sector other than for you and I, which they seem to have forgotten long ago. Yet, they're lecturing and they're beating down and they're just going to town on these CEOs. So, I have just a small consulting firm. We don't make millions of dollars. In fact, we don't make hundreds of thousands of dollars. But free of charge for the big three, just this once. After this, it's going to cost you. Can I help you out a little bit? When you go back before Congress in December to state your case yet again, don't take an airplane. I don't care if it's private or commercial. You get to downtown Detroit and you line up 500 of your own vehicles from each of the big three. Then you go to your jobs bank where you're paying people to sit and look at each other and get them to drive a vehicle. And you have the world's largest car caravan go from Detroit to Washington, D.C. Yeah, you got to stop at McDonald's a few times and go through the drive-thru and buy everybody a Happy Meal. You'll get there. When you pull up in front of Capitol Hill, you park on the street. If they want to ticket everybody, who cares? You're already billions in debt. It'll cost you a few $100,000 more. And then when you go inside that place, you're not in a suit and tie. You're in the same sort of apparel that your workers would wear, and you go before Congress, and when they start jumping down your throat again, you can look at them and say, how dare you, Mr. Frank? How dare the same body of decision makers who decided to just hand out $700 billion to the banking industry with no strings attached, hand out? How dare you lecture us on how to run our businesses? We're not asking for a handout, we just need a loan. And then as they start to pound on you even more and more, maybe you could even, I don't know, here's a crazy idea, talk back to them in such a way that says, ladies and gentlemen, if you want the burden and the blood of 3 million unemployed workers on your hands, don't take any action. But as for me and my company, we are here to fight for what America believes in. There's no fight left in anybody. The only fight I see left in this country anywhere in any way, shape, or form comes from the militant homosexual movement, and that's not the kind of fight any of us enjoy seeing. Why don't people fight for what they believe in? I have no idea. But the same night after those testimonies ended, I would launch a national advertising campaign. It would feature all three of the big three coming together. It would feature your workers. It would feature them saying, hey, I'm Jim from Detroit. I'm Carla from Ohio. I'm from Pennsylvania. Buy American. Ladies and gentlemen, the solution to this problem is not difficult. The solution to the problem is to take Washington out of the mix and put American people back in the mix. Oh, but there's one small problem with that. Elections have consequences. And this nation just decided that it's much more comfortable having Washington fix all of our problems. We want the guy with the styrofoam pillars behind him to solve it all. We want his party to come through and take care of everything. Can I have one final word to those of you who are Democratic voters and perhaps even members of a union? Elections have consequences. After decades of blindly supporting and funding Democratic candidates, what are you getting in return? Have they rushed to your defense? Do you remember that they have the majority and could, without any help whatsoever, take care of you? But you see, it was never about that. It's about making you more dependent on them. Isn't that ironic? Sort of like having Obama name Michigan's Governor Granholm to his economic advisory panel. Still makes me laugh, but it's getting less and less funny as I see more and more how Washington has forgotten for whom they work. That's my free advice to the big three. Any moral caution, give me a call. And for everybody else, think about it. Elections have consequences.